Hello everyone, welcome to Amrita's monthly current affairs series, and we are finishing our international affairs of till the 14 month. Right, we started from the June 2019 and July 2020. We'll be finishing for the prelims 2020. Okay, let us start. So we start with the summits initiative, and we have only one to discuss. That is Global Vaccine Summit. So this summit happened actually. That's a Gavi is the third donor pledging conference to mobilize the additional resource to make the vaccines for the COVID. Gavi we have discussed, Global Alliance for Vaccines initiative, right? Gavi is very important for this year's exam. Gavi, SEPI, you can expect one of the questions on these international organizations. So the summit was hosted by United Kingdom, and the Prime Minister of India has also addressed this virtual Global Vaccine Summit. Okay, so it attended by business leader, UN agencies, civil society, governments and all. Then let us discuss some bilateral ones, starting with the CARTSCA. So CARTSCA, first of all, that is countering the American adversaries through Sanctions Act. But if in the prelims the question will be coming on CARTSCA Act. What is this act? So first of all, you need to remember that's an act from the US Parliament. Okay, that's being passed from the US Parliament. If you see the full form of it, countering American adversaries through Sanctions Act. So through sanctions, we have to counter the American adversaries. So this act has came in the backdrop of, so which are the American adversaries? Basically, the three main ones: Russia, Iran and North Korea. So it was passed in the backdrop of Russia's military intervention in Ukraine. Recently, US again reiterated its CARTSCA position despite India's problems with Japan, with China on the border, and India's strategic autonomy, that is, we want to have weapons from Russia also. In the defense, we have discussed, right, 86% of our current military equipments are coming from the Russia. Though in the past decade, we will say, yes, that has increased, that reliance has brought down on the Russia. We have not diversifying our import basket, I should say, from France, Rafael, USA, UAE, we have Make a List Israel, right? So US again reiterated that all its allies, including India, have to stop transactions with Russia. So basically, it's a kind of a punitive measures on the Russia. It is all in the alignment with the newly formed axis that we're discussing. So Russia, just to discuss again, Russia, China, Iran, they are in the one group, and then USA, India, Pakistan here also as well. Pakistan, USA, India, Saudi, Qatar, these are in the one block and these are in the other block. Okay, so this is in this larger context we have discussed. Next is India assisted the Mauritius Supreme Court building of the Mauritius. Remember, it is Mauritius, not Maldives. Okay, so confusion should not be there. So it is India's first assisted infrastructure project within the capital city of Port Louis in the Mauritius. So 68% of the Mauritius population is of Indian origin. So India has a very high diaspora in the Mauritius, and it is one of the 5 projects been implemented under the special economic package of 353 million USD extended by the government of India to the Mauritius in 2016. Location of the Mauritius, please see in the vicinity of the other, for example, Reunion, Seychelles is there, Reunion, these vanilla islands that we have discussed. I'm expecting one of the questions in this regard, whether it be Indian Ocean Commission, whether it be vanilla island, whether it be the location, whether they want to arrange the island from north to south somewhere. This will be one of the questions that I'm expecting this year. Next is Open Sky Agreement. So this agreement we have recently signed with we are thinking to sign with the UAE. So Open Sky Agreement, what does this mean? So if the two countries sign Open Sky Agreement, that means it provides the right of the airlines to offer international passengers and cargo services. So basically restrictions are less. Okay. For example, India has earlier signed this with Japan. So airlines from India and Japan can add more flights between both the countries. It will reduce the airfare. So more trade opportunities will open between India and Japan. Now in the case, we are thinking in terms of the UAE. Our national civil aviation policy also talks about that open sky policies, but on the reciprocal basis. Reciprocal basis means if we allow them, they also should allow us. Okay. So it is about the air connectivity, the better air connectivity have. It is about more people to people transaction. It is about more tourism. It is about more trade. So for example, if we have this transaction with the UAE, if we have open sky agreement with UAE, a number of flights to the UAE from India will increase. So the business that is in Dubai and all these, they have the chance that in India, the spillover effect will happen. If they want to diversify their engagements, and if we have very cheap flights from UAE to India, then the big businesses, their headquarters, everything can be set up in India as well. First of all, India provides the less cost offer as well. And secondly, this transport facility is also improved. Okay, so that is mentioned in our National Civil Aviation Policy. So recently, UAE has expressed the desire to open sky agreement with India. India has also wanted to make an air bubble. Hardeep Puri once discussed about this air bubble. But I think that is no more a concern, because now we are slowly starting all the flights to the other nations as well, international arenas. So open sky treaty between India and UAE will allow the unlimited number of flights between the selected cities, right? Okay. Next is we have the 15th India European Union Summit. It was a virtual summit. Not anything significant happened. Basically, we know BTIA, that is being in the contention. We have discussed about BTIA. I think we have discussed the 14th India European Summit last year. Okay. So the broad-based trade and investment agreement that is still stuck about so many issues on both India and the European side. Remember, that will be important from mains perspective, but for prelims perspective, just this name is important. But they have already asked question on it, so I don't think any question on European Union is important per se. Okay, so an agreement have reached between India and European Atomic Energy Community for the peaceful use of the nuclear energy was signed. Declarations on resource efficiency and circular economy have been signed. Not very important. So that's the end of the session. Very less topics were there in the July month. So let us come to some of the questions that we will discuss. First question is, consider the following statements. Countries: Kazakhstan, Russia, China, India and Poland. Which of the following are part of the Eurasian Economic Union, EEU? We have discussed EEU before. In fact, we have discussed all the important international organizations that were there. So which of the countries are part of this EEU? Let us pause and pause the video and try to answer these questions. EEU. So what is the answer? So EU need to know, because that is very important. India is discussing to have a comprehensive economic partnership agreement with EEU. Okay, Mr. Modi went to the Far East Summit of Russia. We have discussed about that as well, right? So which are the countries? So Russia is there, Kazakhstan, big country, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Armenia and Belarus are the part of the EEU. Now, if you see the option, for example, let us see the options first. So India is not part of EU because India is discussing it. So when you eliminate number 4, this is eliminated, this is eliminated. Now you have to see 3 and 5, only China and Poland. Now China, you can also eliminate China if you know, because China is not part of EEU. China is also discussing some sort of FTA with the EEU as well. Okay, so India is discussing comprehensive economic partnership agreement with EEU, and these are the BARK, BARKK. So Belarus, Armenia, Russia, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. These sort of mnemonics you have to remember. Next question is, which of the following statements are correct regarding the Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellation Tribunal, TDSAT? One of the governance related question, but it's important. So first is, TDSAT was constituted under the provision of the TRI Act 1997. Second, the chairman of the TDSAT should be the judge of the High Court. The tribunal exercises the appellate jurisdiction in the regard to the telecom, cyber matter, broadcasting, airport, traffic matters as well. Which of the following statement is right? It's a relatively tough question, but try to see it from a content perspective. Okay, I know you will be the serious aspirants will be doing a lot of questions on their own end. So try to do these questions for your content perspective if you have not solved these questions. So what's the answer? So we have, along with the TRI Act as came in 1997. So along with the TRI Act 1997, we also established the TDSAT. It did not came afterward. So we have an appellate body right with the TRI itself, and that was a good thing as also. Okay, so it was set up under this TRI Act itself, right? So from the name itself, appellate body, so they adjudicate disputes and dispose the cases with the appeal with the view to protect the interest of the service provider and the consumer, obviously. The head of this tribunal can be the judge of the Supreme Court and the Chief Justice of High Court. So the second statement becomes wrong. And yes, it discusses the other issues as well, this aviation and all the other things that are mentioned. So option 1 and 3 is right. So first, yes, with the Tri Act 1997, it came into being. Secondly, the judge of the TDSAT should be the judge of the High Court. No, they should be the judge of the Supreme Court or the Chief Justice of the High Court. Third, the tribunal exercises appellate jurisdiction in the matters of telecom, cyber matter, broadcasting and airport traffic. Answer is yes. Actually, in 2017 or 18, a finance bill has come which has reduced the number of tribunals, and it is given some other materials because a number of tribunals have increased. It is called tribunalization of justice, right? So that is why consolidations of these tribunals have taken place. So one tribunal is not taking up not only that particular material, for example, telecom, but also the airport, broadcasting and other things. So answer is 1 and 3. Next is which of the following institutions have released the pandemic bonds recently in news? These pandemic bonds that are recently in news. Actually, that we should not say that this pandemic was or not visualized by anyone. No. If you have seen, I've discussed it earlier also, many of the TV series and all these, they have all predicted that or at least have, I should say, imagined. And we can see this in the World Bank also, with this pandemic bond being released in 2017, have said that these sort of financial instruments should be there in case any tragedy happens, such as COVID-19 or any problem happens. So you can see in 2017, World Bank has launched these pandemic bonds. They are similar to the catastrophic bonds that we have discussed in our economy section, right? So the answer will be the World Bank is the authority which has released the pandemic bond. If the question will come, question will be on these lines only. Next, a geography based question. Which of the following mountain range do not pass through the Pamir Knot? Suleiman Range, Altai Range, Kulun Shah Range, Tian Shah Range. So a relatively more international mapping thing. Okay, so this is your Pamir Knot. Okay, so many of the mountain ranges come and they merge here basically. Okay, so which is the mountain range that is not there? That is Altai mountain range. You can see in there in China and upper side. So Suleiman Range is there, Kulun Shah is there, Tian Shah is there. So Altai mountain range, it is not near this Pamir Knot. So answer is Altai range. Eliminate this and all the three are there. Okay. So even if you have not done this, try to include that in your content part. The last question, consider the following statements: Bangladesh, Papua New Guinea, USA, Canada, China and India. Which of following are not part of the APEC? Which are the following, a member of the APEC, that is Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. Which of the following are part of the APEC? Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. APEC is a very famous organization. I think UPSC has previously asked question on it as well. And that is why I have not covered in many of the session, because that is also not in news. US is also dragging its feet on APEC. Like I think last year APEC was, they finally come up with some sort of final communication at the end of all APEC summit. But in the last time, they have not done so. China, on the other hand, has not taken over the leadership of APEC as well, some sort of. Okay, so China put a lot of delegates in and all these things. So as I've discussed, so China is a part of it and India wants to become a part of it. And that is why APEC is also in the syllabus of our PSIR syllabus. Those who are having an optional in PSIR, APEC is mentioned in their syllabus, because it is one of the, one of the objectives of Indian foreign policy to become a part of APEC. So if India is not the part, then eliminate India. So 6 option is eliminated, right? Then option is 1, Bangladesh. So if India is not the part, do you think Bangladesh will be part of it? Answer is no. So Bangladesh is not part of it. From 1998, there is a moratorium on the increase of the Asia Pacific, that we will not increase the membership of it. Okay. They've also given the idea that they should be the countries that are on the Pacific rim, on the Pacific. And that is the logic being given that why India is not given the membership of the APEC as well. So all these countries such as Japan, South Korea, Canada, US, Peru, Chile, these countries are part of it. You don't have to remember a lot of things, right? Just remember it's an economic group of 21 members. What you need to focus, that they focus on the members. They focus on the economies rather than the states. That is why if you see the Taiwan, here let us see, the Chinese Taipei and Hong Kong are mentioned separately because China is a different entity and these two are considered as a different entity. Okay? This is one thing you need to keep in mind. So Taiwan and Hong Kong are the part of APEC, but as APEC does not consider the idea of state, they consider the idea of the members or the idea of economies. And that is why this Chinese Taipei, that is Taiwan, and Hong Kong are part of it as a different entities. Okay, so answer will be Papua New Guinea, Russia, USA, Canada, China, India and Bangladesh are not part of it. So that's the end of session, everyone. Let us quickly revise what we have discussed. We started with a discussion on Global Vaccine Summit, right? So UK has hosted it, Gavi's third donor summit to have more pledges and everything. Prime Minister has addressed it. Then CAATSA, legislation from the US Parliament. So countering our adversaries through Sanctions Act. Again, US has reiterated its position on CAATSA. Then India's new Supreme Court building in the Mauritius, not in Maldives. Then Open Sky Agreement, we are thinking to open it with UAE. Then 15th India-European Summit, we have discussed, nothing important was there. Then first question was on Eurasian Economic Union. So countries that were there, BARC, BARKK. Then TDSAT we have discussed, come up with a try and it handles the other issues as well. Then pandemic bond released by the World Bank, anticipation I should say. Then Pamir Knot we have discussed, Pamir Knot, which are the ranges? Sulman Range, Kulan Shah, Tian Shah, but Altai Mountain Range is further north to this. Then we discuss about this APEC, so economic cooperation. The important thing that we have discussed is Hong Kong and Taiwan are part of it because they do not consider state as a unit. They consider economies or the members as a unit. So India, Bangladesh obviously are not member of it. India wants the membership of it. So that's the end of the session, everyone. So we are also done with the international affairs. So only few sessions are left. Some polity, science and economy sessions are left out. We'll finish it as quickly as possible. And try to revise. I think you all are doing really well. Rest of the things I'll discuss in one of my last sessions. Some of the important things that we want to discuss with you all. Right? So keep revising. See 1 to 2 videos daily, just for the change sake, and try to answer the question. Rest I think you will all have done. So bye bye for now. Thank you, everyone.